Hello, everyone. Mackie here, and ladies and gentlemen, we are officially 62 days till the World Championships that is taking place in China. Now, we're going to do something a little differently in our program. We're going to be doing the games first, and then we're going to end it up with all the news, including pretty much the most saddest news in all of League. No, this doesn't involve a player or any kind of stuff or a coach. This is pretty much involve an organization that has been near and dear to so many hearts and minds of so many years, being absolutely brought down to his knees and into his final hours. If anybody knows what it means, you can just skip right ahead and just go through. If you don't, you just have to stay tuned and find out what it means. For now, let's go to the games. Let's talk about the LCP season finals. Nothing too much concerning, of course. Although GAM is 1-2, PSG is 0-3, not even winning a game. Not even winning a series game. What the hell? Anyway, CTB Flying Oysters 6-1 and Secret Whales 2-1. All your teams are qualified into the contender group. Now we're into the group breaker, where GAM will face off against SoftBanks, who finished second in the breakout group, and PSG will take on Vikings Gaming, who are finishing first in the breakout group. DFM and Chiefs Esports will play in the breakout group. Now, in case everybody noticed, this is a best of three matchup, and the winners will play in the contender group, and the losers will play in the breakout group. So again, nothing too much to concern, of course. I think GAM will take care of SoftBanks, and I think PSG will take on Vikings Esports, despite the fact they have not won a series. So, yeah, I think there is a strong possibility that we might get the status quo, or we might get an upset. I feel like Vikings could beat PSG. I feel like it can beat them. But that's just the first layer of the multi-layer that we're going to have until we get to Worlds. So, again, nothing too much to concern about. Let's go to our good old friends at the LEC. And this it means gigantic butt all. Yes, K Corp won, beating Koi in a matchup, but K Corp just not looking great. 3-0, fine, but K Corp does not look great. Let's be honest, they do not look great. And Vladdy Dotty, looking absolutely not so great at all. To the point of he is pretty much testing the K Corp fandom, which, if you learn anything from the T1 fandom, man, the moment you even speak about anything critical towards the fandom or any critical ever, you're going to get absolutely smacked. And listen, here's my brutal honesty. K Corp is a decent, good organization, and I wish them the best and all kind of stuff. But let's be brutally honest, man. Your team has been fell off the cliff since Split 1. To the point of I just do not feel like K Corp could ever win LEC, to be honest. That doesn't mean they're gonna, be good. They'll improve, and hopefully they'll improve and do well in the next couple of weeks. But that 3-0 record could look pretty shady, and to be honest, pretty little shady. Meanwhile, Corey's in second place. Giant X is in third. Team Vitality and Navi occupies Group A. I mean, Vitality is looking absolutely done right now. Oh, Carzzy, man. I mean, I have seen fall-offs pretty swift, but never have I seen a fall-off that Carzzy is with Team Vitality. And it just has that feeling of oh, maybe Hylissang is the problem. No. Hylissang is no longer the problem right now. It is pretty much a Carzzy problem. And Carzzy right now is not cover himself in absolute glory right now. To the point of I'm not sure if Team Fidelity could ever do anything well. Now, of course, we're going to get to the schedule, of course, in a bit. This is, by the way, the final week of the group stage before we get to let's call it the mini site bracket, of course, when we determine worlds and anything. Yeah, we're going to do mini group stage into mini worlds, and yeah, I don't feel great. Fnatic, hey, they're 3-0, they made it through, and Poby looks decent. I mean, he looks decent. He's not humanoid, and that's the only good thing I ever said about Poby in the moment. That he's not humanoid, he did not int, he's not horrible. He did solid work. Now, of course, the major test is going to come against G2, who looks pretty good against Heretics in their first game back from EWC. Although it's Heretics, and they put them in a body bag, of course. But hey, a win is a win, I guess, especially in these times. And I have that feeling of like this is going to be a litmus test for Poby and the entire Fnatic organization to see if they are maybe not good enough, but if they are good enough to like snatch the third remaining spot to go to Worlds. Because that is pretty much where we're at right now. We're at the Carmen Corp, Core, and G2 levels of like they're gonna go to Worlds and nobody else. Fnatic are kind of close, but it's almost had that feeling of like Fnatic has to have to catch one of these teams in a bad mood. And right now, they could have a chance. They could have a chance to do it. But I want to see if Fnatic can do it against an elite team like G2. It's going to be tough, but I believe they can do it. I believe they can do it. BDS, Heretics, and SK Gaming occupy the 4th, 5th spots. I mean, Jesus. Heretics and SK I just don't want to say anything. It's just disappointing me to the extent. Okay, so here are next week's matches. We got the 16th and the 17th, my birthday. 18th, my godbrother's birthday. And here we are. Koi versus Navi, Heretics versus SK, and then Vitality Navi, and then G2 Fnatic. And then Carmen Corp will take on Vitality, and G2 will take on BDS. So, really honest, to me, I feel like we're going to have a chalk day. Except, of course, the Fnatic G2, because we all know Fnatic G2 is going to have a... Well, I'm not saying the rivalry is pretty much like high tier in the last couple of years. But you know, G2 Fnatic always deliver a great game, whatever matters most, especially in a 3-game series of this in his opponent. We will find out if G2's team against Heretics was a fluke. And we're also going to find out if Fnatic's record was more against lower position against G2 as well. So that game on the 17th will be huge enough. Will be huge. And if you want to go even further, you got SK versus G2 and then BDS Heretics, and then Vitality Core and Navi versus Giant X, the Water 2 match, the noodle fight match, if you can call that, although Giant X is kind of okay-ish. They're kind of improved a little bit. Not much improvement, but still. Those are the matches, of course. So 2 more weeks and we're virtually done. Yeah, I guess. To the LCK, and to the surprise of absolutely nobody, Genji and T1 won. Now, they did face each other, by the way, in a sequel to the incredible original At Home Stand. And let's be honest, the match sucks. Well, not sucks. More like one team dominates the other in all 3 games. It was showcasing of like both teams being powerful enough to overwhelm them. Powerful enough that T1 in today's series against KT just toyed with them like a cat playing with his yawn. It was not even close. It was an absolute evisceration of their rivals. I mean, just look at the standings right now. KT roster are 6 games behind T1. 6 games! Like, it's absolutely brutal. And look at the game series difference. -8, -9 to +18, +24. It is a gap. Like, this is like Canyon level gap. Not the champion Canyon, of course, from Genji, but a Grand Canyon level of a gap right now. To the point of like, yeah, T1 and Genji are kind of like levels above everybody else. Different leagues, if you want to call that. Lane Kiffin growth, by the way. And the big test will be if Hanalife Esports can crack the top 2. Because at this moment, it almost feels like it's Genji and T1 and virtually no one else. This week is going to be a test. Because Hanalife Esports will have T1 on the 15th, which is Friday. And then Genji and Hanalife Esports on the 17th. My goodness, my birthday is having some really big matches. How lucky I am. That's going to be Hanalife Esports' litmus test. If you can beat at least one of these big teams, then, and only then, I will have to say that, yeah, you're good. You're pretty good. You're absolutely pretty good. But if you don't, and sadly if you don't, well, I think you can say that Genji, T1 are going to be up there. They're going to be in the finals, and you know what? It'll be great. Viewership will be going up. And I got one key news. Of course, they talk about LCK. I'll get that to later. And right now, you could say that they are miles, and I mean miles ahead of everybody else. So Hanalife Esports have to step up pretty big this time. The players have to step up. The team has to step up. This is probably a big week for them. Because if you lose to both of these teams, I'm not saying I don't think Honda Life Esports have a leg up against both teams right now at the peak of their powers. So it's gonna be show up or make up right now. Genji, of course, will face off against Nashim, although you can say that Nashim have not won a game. They have not won a game in like 3 months. It is August, for God's sakes. Nashim Red Force have not won a game since they beat T1 in May, to be honest. We are in August. We're close to the end of the summer. And Nashim Red Force have not even won a game. Like, I'm sorry, man. That is just absolutely embarrassing. And you get Genji! You get Genji! Oh, my goodness gracious. The gap is just too big. The gap is just way too big right now. KT Ralter and Nashim Red Force got the Legends group by good play and by good system. But now it almost feels like the gap is just too big for them, even by their own standards. It's just... Unless Nashim Red Force can do something incredible and play the best series of their life, then I don't think they're going to do anything right now. I think Genji is going to clean sweep them. And would I be embarrassing for everybody else? Yeah, it would. It would. But listen, we want to see the best games. We want to see the best teams compete in a group like this. You get what you want. And that's good enough for virtually everybody. Virtually everybody. Meanwhile, Fearx and Breon, Fearx and Fearx versus Freaks is a classic group Nevada match. Sadly, Freaks lost again. They didn't want a They actually have 2 wins right now, which is yay. And yeah, I just once again there's a dogfight between Fearx, Breon, and DRX for the last 2 spots, which right now at this moment it just have that feeling of like it's Fearx and Breon and just DRX is floundering, let's be honest. Yeah, so I feel like right now we have like, unless Honda Life Esports improved, and unless they can beat one of those 2 teams this week, there's going to be like Genji T1 in one side, and they got D+, Fearx, and Breon on the other side, and it's going to be like a slow trot until the playoffs. The games are good, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be a slow trot to the playoffs in pretty much every way, shape, way, or form. So that's the LCK. Now, I am going to... I have breaking news for LCK fans, and by God, you're going to love this. So, let me just pull this thing up from my dear friend Sheep Esports. So let's just see. The LCK finals will be taking place on national television? Oh my God. Oh my God. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. Now, the finals will take place on the 28th. The LCK broadcast will be broadcast on national TV in South Korea. MBC, which is one of the country's national broadcasters, will air the LCK finals on September 8th from the Ichon Inspire Arena, which is going to be the first time it'll appear on national TV. And it'll be the first ever broadcast of a League of Legends event since 2018 in the Asian Games. I mean, this is huge. This is huge. This will pretty much, cement and capped off pretty much the most incredible year for a Korean League of Legends ever. With Honda Life Esports winning first stand, Genji winning MSI, and if, you can say that T1 could be favorites to win Worlds, if that happens, you can say that Korea LCK has dominated the year. In terms of viewership, in terms of gameplay, in terms of like everything else in most parts. And my God, this is huge. Now, the live coverage begins at 2 p.m. KST, a prime Sunday slot that NBC typically reserves for major sporting events like the KBO, which is a Korean baseball league, of course, in China. Choosing the time reflects the growing recognition of LoL esports as a legitimate and valuable form of content esports. According to reporter Kim Young-woo, LCK Secretary General Lee Jong-hoon commented, the LCK has long been pursuing national TV broadcasts to reach more fans and enhance the competitiveness of its content. And NBC's decision to live stream the LCK finals was born fruit. We hope that the LCK finals will be broadcast live for the first time in NBC will become an opportunity to spread the word about esports and connect with more generations. An Hee Nam, head of NBC Sports Planning and Business Team, said the LCK has established itself as a global recognized sporting content through this live broadcast of the finals. NBC will promote the appeal of the LCK that transcends generations and cultures and provide viewers with a new experience. The Inspire Arena venue will be hosted the LCK finals, and by the way, of course, it was the home for the T1 homestand. So pretty much like, you know, pretty good. And then you combine that with like 4 of the 5 most watched games were pretty much T1 Gen G, and you put it on national television for all of Korea to see. My God, my God. I mean, boy, oh boy, I gotta say, LCK has reached its peak form right now. It has reached peakness. I mean, listen, let's be honest. The only time we get to see esports is when we have like the COVID-19 pandemic. When LCS was on television. That was when the COVID take place and all this kind of stuff. And in an esports hub like Korea, by the way, where esports is literally king. To put this on national television, it's a huge deal. It's an incredible huge deal. And I hope we see T1 versus Gen G in the finals, and I hope we get to see 5 games, and not like all the games being stumpy and all kind of stuff. I want to see these 2 teams just like the first stand matchup when you got 2 good teams at the peak of their powers. Faker versus Chovy, my lord. Listen, Faker versus Chovy, Keen versus Doran, Canyon versus Owner, Gumiuchi versus Ruler. My lord, my lord, my lord. That's a finals I have to stay up for. Now, unfortunately, that will be like in the morning, of course. But I'll tell you what, that is a finals that many people will have to bleach their eyes out for that to happen. It is, and by the way, for this to happen on television in a time where esports in pretty much like in dire straits with money and viewership and broadcasting deals being hooked left, right, and center and all kinds of stuff, to have the fate to put all their chips into the national TV broadcast right around the same time as KBO, one of the most popular, baseball leagues in all of Korea, to put all that eggs in your basket for national television. It's huge. It's huge, and I hope the gamble plays off, and I hope the viewership will be huge. Because right now, I feel like the LCK needed something. Consider the financial situation that they're dealing with right now, which I already touched on, of course, in one of my videos. But I'm not saying they needed this. They've already peaked, but this is going to add more variance, and it's going to give so much to young audience, a window in what you can be like. Although, Koreans love playing games a lot, that's their livelihood, of course. But it's going to give like young people a window of like, you see Faker, you see Chovy. This is the future. This is going to be you in a couple of years. So by having this in a wider audience and streaming, by the way, it's already huge, of course. If you put it on a streaming platform, I'll tell you what, man. It's going to, I'm not saying, I just go rough figure. It's going to be like 80, 90 million people in Korea. Just like big number, of course. I'm just going off big numbers. It's going to be like the biggest thing to ever happen, the biggest esports to ever happen in Korea ever. But it's probably going to be the biggest sport ever in Korea in like a long time. Not like World Cup, of course. Although next year World Cup will have huge audience in Korea, of course. But in terms of esports, it's going to be bigger than like StarCraft years ago when StarCraft was at its peak. So for this to happen on television, it's a huge, huge deal. And also shout out to Faker, who has 700 wins. Because why not? Faker just keep doing this thing. 700 wins. I mean, yeah. What do you expect? What do you expect from him? Just amazing. The longevity of this kid. And by the way, you're gonna see Faker on television if T1 were to go to finals, which by the way might happen. Faker on national television. It's over. It's over, guys. The LCK has already peaked, all right? LCK has already peaked this year. This is like Mount Everest of peakness. That's all I have to say. Now, we got 2 pieces of news from LPL. But first, LPL news. Let's go to the LPL games right now. We're in Split 3, and we're pretty much at the nitty-gritty part. Anyone's Legend, I think they've... let's just see. I think I didn't get to watch the final game, of course, because the final game highlights were kind of like mixed all around the place. So I decided to like go for the scores, get you the quick news and all kind of stuff. And let's just see. No, not yet. Week 4, week 7. Let's just see. And if you liked the video and you wanted to see more League of Legends content, please like and subscribe so I can do more of this thing. Okay? Follow on TikTok for my shorts and maybe Instagram. I may not post Instagram that much, but I'll definitely try my best. I guess. Maybe League of Legends or maybe not. I don't know. So let's just see. Hey, anyone's legend actually won. They actually beat BLG and end the undefeated streak. Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. Just like the honeymoon period is kind of over with, although they have not updated the score yet. They probably get updated with BLG 7-1, first time they lost below top esports, and for anyone's legend to be 4-4. And despite everything that's going on, from fatigue to Shanks, I'm not opening up Pandora's box. that is his crap, not mine. For that to happen, and by the way, they're 4-4 and still be pretty much in the sneakage of playoffs. And pretty much saying that they might have a chance if they do what, if all the cards are going right, they might have to peak and they do well. Now, BLG and Top Esports are doing fine right now, but as we all learn, I trust Top Esports, and I trust Top Esports way too long to know that they might screw up at any moment. BLG, yes, they're doing well, but it's mostly in like Shadow's honeymoon period and all kind of stuff. But listen, I still believe in anyone's legend. I still believe this team can bounce back up, get through all of that, wrap it up in the next couple of weeks, and then peak in the playoffs. As we saw, of course, in the last couple of years, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So I would believe that anyone's legend could finish off the playoffs staying strong, and hopefully they do well. Anyways, other standings, JDG, FPX, and WE are floundering in the bottom of the table. Weibo and Invictus Gaming occupy the rest of the standings. In Group Nevada, NIP and Edward Gaming occupy the top 2. LGD, Thunder Talk, Ultra, and LNG, Jesus, are down in the dumps. Speaking of FPX, unfortunately, I have some breaking news. Your boy Milky Way, who you acquired a couple of years ago, is getting suspended from FPX. And a possible lifetime ban. Well, okay, so it says that there is no. You know what the cardinal sin of every League of Legends in esports right now? Match fixing. And yes, I decided to not touch the Shank situation. Pretty much. But the Shank situation, he got like light slap on the wrist, fine for a couple of $1,000, while Milky Way, who's by the way one of the pretty decent players, of course, in the LPL, is accused of match fixing and could get lifetime ban, and pretty much his career is over. So I don't know. LPL has too many decent standards. Now, this was taking place in 2024 Demacia Cup. And on August 11th, of course, the whistleblower claim that Milky Way of course, violated rules. Now, there are screenshots, by the way, that is going on Weibo, their social media channels, that Milky Way has shared confidential draft information from his former team, RNG. We'll get to RNG later on, because the match fixing is not something. The match fixing is like, there are less problems, but they have more problems, of course. Now, those individuals were then unable to place bets on which champions would be picked in upcoming matches. If ever, this would consider both a draft league and direct involvement in betting manipulations, officers of the LPL have historically punished with lifetime bans. So, let me just read the statement. On August 9, 2025, false statements involving FPX esports clubs appeared on the network. We carry out internal verification as soon as possible. After careful investigation, it was confirmed that the relevant situation was not true. In order to clarify the facts and safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of the club, we report the case to the public security organs in accordance with the law and submitted to the illegal team for follow-up. On the evening of August 11, 2025, the club received a report of the alleged violations of Kang Sin-jun, Milky Way, during the 2024 Demacian Cup, which we attach great importance to, meaning suspended all of the competition and training agreements of the player reporting the matter to the league that night, and actively cooperating with the investigation throughout the whole process. At present, we are waiting for the result of the verification of the alliance. Until the final official conclusions are announced, the club will indefinitely suspend all cooperation with case in June, players in accordance with the rules of the game. Maintaining the purity of the competitive environment is the unshakable bottom line of the club, and we do not accept in ultra motives and will never condone any personal violations and illegal acts. FPX Esports Club resolutely resists any form of unfair competitive behavior and works with the league to protect a fair, just, and healthy esports environment. So yeah, there's a statement, by the way. Now, 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 he is, of course, you know, suspended, which means FPX have to go through another jungler, which I have to get from the LDL and all kind of stuff. But my God, dude, that is just this is just this is just blatantly career defining end. This is like the end of career kind of stuff. As we all know from esports, once you match fix the whole thing and once you find out, it is over. It is over for your career. There's no coming back. And you be branded a criminal for the rest of your days, especially in a culture like China right now, who, you know, hold standards in terms of match fixing to the higher degree. And you could go like any other sports, of course, with all these kind of stuff. But this is my fear, of course, and I will tie back to Milky Way about adding Riot betting sponsors. And by the way, the four horsemen mentioned about this in a couple of episodes about the Riot adding gambling sponsorships or gambling towards esports. And I think it's things like these that there are fears about. Because if gambling is going to be taking place in esports, the competitive integrity of this whole thing could be compromised. Yeah, they may be good, of course, with all the data and stats and all kind of stuff, but they might be some people, not all of them, some people that might manipulate this system for financial gain. Like this is a huge story. A huge story in the context of esports. I mean, it's a huge story because it's Milky Way, who, by the way, was on RNG, played well for FBX, go back to RNG, not doing well, and then after RNG get absolutely bunked, go back to FBX, and now here he is, possibly suspended for the rest of his career. And if that happens, it's a damaging blow for the team, for the league, and for the player itself. And pretty much it's damaging for the integrity of the competition. And I hope to God that Riot, and yes, I know LPL have their own flaws, but Riot Games should do something about this. Because it's not just Milky Way alone. There is a Beyond Game player that did this in 2020 that got suspended for match fixing as well. In Worlds! In Worlds, for God's sakes! In a huge competition that involves millions of people watching and millions of dollars being on the line. So if this is going to happen in LPL, what will happen if like a big event like Worlds or anything like that? You talk about careers being damaged. You talk about integrity being compromised. You talk about every single thing that is going to be under the microscope, pretty much at the forefront. And right now, listen, I'm sorry, man, but if all of your accusations is true, then unfortunately you just bet your career away. And I'm not punning myself here. I'm just actually telling you facts that you just bet your entire career away for just draft picks. And for like, I don't know, I don't know how much money he like bet and everything, how much money he gained, but dude, just to quote the movie, man, say it is Sojo. Say it is Sojo. That is just not it, man. That's just unlike you. For such a young player as well. What is it? How old is he, by the way? I want to know his age, by the way. I want to know his age. I want to know his age right now. I want to know his age. Let's just look at his age right now, just to tell you how really sad this situation is. Let's just be sad anyways. He is 21 years old. Oh my goodness gracious. He's 21 years old. In about 4 days at the time of recording, I'll be 28. Yeah, I'll be 28 years old. The guy is 7 years younger than me, and you decided to bet your entire life for draft picks and all kind of stuff. And listen, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. You have pretty much low money to take with. Your contract is not doing well. Your winnings is not doing strong. Gambling is wrong. It should be moderated. It should be preserved. You can do that in your own leisure times, but don't do it too much, and don't do it anything that will give you trouble. But gambling is wrong in the eyes of many lawful and the eyes of many people, especially yourself. You're 21 years old. You know better. You know better. And you're throwing away your precious young career for this. For this. All the decent work you have done, all of these accolades, and you decided to throw your money away and your career away, and it's so blatantly sad. It is sad for him and for the entire organization to be like this. And if he gets suspended, man, this is just a wasted career being lost. Now, first the Shanks incident when he decided to have a little insult with a girl, of course. Now the gambling situation with Milky Way is like, what's going on in China, man, with these young people? What's going on in society? We live in a society, for God's sakes, in which we harass people and then gambling our money away. And we just where's the adults in the room? Where are the adults in the room right now? The coaches are supposed to be the adults in the room. Not I understand, coaching and drafting and all kind of stuff, but where are the adults in the room? Where are the parents? He has parents. I mean, listen, I'm 28 years old. I'm close to 28 years old, and I have parents in my room. I still live with my parents. Embarrassing, yes, but I still have parents. Good parents to me. But I bet he has parents. His parents must be watching this or reading this statement right now, and I'm absolutely disappointment. And they're strict because you know about Chinese people; they're always strict with everything. I'm not saying a stereotype, but just the same thing. They must be so disappointed to have a young kid like this do this in the, I'm not saying the peak of his career, but at the peak of his powers, and he could get suspended. And even if he doesn't get suspended, that thing will be like an albatross to his neck for the rest of his life. Whether he's suspended or not, this thing will haunt him for the rest of his life. And he may not play for another team other than the team that he currently has. And even if he does come back, his reputation is going to be soiled by the many people in the community and by the many fans who, by the way, are player supported and not team supported in many ways. So this is damaging for him. This is probably the second most damaging story of the LPL this week. And I mentioned second most damaging because we got to talk about RNG. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, boy, oh boy, this is where the sadness, yeah. Okay, let me just go. There it is. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where the sadness train about to reach the station for RNG. If you notice the cover picture, that was Uzi winning the trophy in 2018, one of the most incredible moments of his career for Hall of Legend, by the way, who's inducted. This is the peak of RNG's powers, and unfortunately, RNG being relegated from the LPL this year is the worst thing to ever happen. But this, my brother, listen, I'm not Richard Lewis and anything like that. I mean, Richard Lewis is peaks of reporting far ahead of me. But my God, Richard Lewis would have covered this thing to town, and it would get I don't know, 5,000 views or something, or clicks. So, well, since we have time, I think it's time for me to read a story and do my discussions. So, just a few years ago, RNG sat on top of the global League of Legends stage. 3 mid-season invitational titles, 18, 21, and 22. 5 LBL titles. 3 Demacia Cups, which is a big deal, by the way, preseason, but it's a big deal. And a World's Finals appearance, which is taking place way back when in 2014. When Faker was a rookie, by the way. And Jan Uzi Zhao at the top of his game. The Chinese powerhouse embodies esports excellence. And today, RNG is drowning in unprecedented financial and legal quagmire. The organization has withdrawn its two LDL, the Fundamental League of Academy teams, rosters entirely, while former star players are suing the team in Chinese courts for millions in unpaid wages. Cheese and Christ. Which, I mean, by the way, the LD, I mean, RNG, I think I go on RNG and saying they had a team, by the way. They had an LDL team, if I last time I checked. So you lost two developmental teams, and your biggest stars are suing you for minions. Like, cheese and Christ. Let's add down the rabbit hole, shall we? Now, the scale of disaster matches the severity of the sporting collapse. On June 18th of this year, a judicial enforced order RNG to pay 162.18 million yuan, Chinese money, of course, with over a dozen ongoing lawsuits and total debts projected to exceed a billion yuan, or around 140 million US dollars. This is the story of RNG's descent into chaos, and perhaps the final chapter of one of esports' most iconic names. $140 million in debt. Oh my goodness gracious. This is just brutal. This is just absolutely brutal. This is just absolutely brutal. So, let's just go through the mismanagement. The roots of this downfall stretch back well before 2025. Founded in May 2012 as Royal Club, RNG rose rapidly thanks to legendary talents like Uzi, Ming, Xiaohu, and Mixed. But behind the trophies and lucrative contracts, the early signs of messy, if not outright flawed, management were already visible. By 2021, at the height of the competitive dominance, warning lights were flashing. Key executives were leaving, investments in the mobile gaming division collapsed, and debt had already begun to mount. The organization's business model relied almost entirely on sponsorships and external injections of capital, a dependence that CEO Li Jiming would later admit openly. The club has never been profitable. It has always survived through blood transfusions. All right, then, your words and words. And the crisis deepened as sponsors began pulling out. From more than a dozen partners at its peak, including heavyweights like Mercedes-Benz and KFC, RNG was down to just one by 2025. Huya Life, ironically the very platform at the center of many of the disputes in this story. Well. So all the glory, all the shine, all the gold just does not glitter enough to know that everything is collapsing. Like MOBA games, which is, by the way, a huge thing in the Asian scene, debt, sponsorships being lost, like Mercedes-Benz and KFC. Those are those are goaded sponsorships in the esports industry. Although Mercedes-Benz, the former, is mostly in esports, but KFC was a huge thing, and now it's like you're down to one Hoya Life. You're down to like one shady company, of course. So this whole thing was sitting like house of cards for so many years, and they're just not addressing it. They're just not addressing it as much. I'll get to my discussions later, and of course we'll end this whole video with a discussion. But let's continue. Now, the Dahu debacle, which is the first major crack. Now, the first contractual scandal broke in 2019 with Douyu, a major Chinese streaming platform. On the 1st of September 2018, RNG, through its subsidiary Li Yu's company, signed an exclusive one-year deal with Douyu worth 30 million yuan, 20 million or 4.32 million USD, which is 20 million for cooperation fees and $11 million in bonuses. But in 2019, Douyu discovered that RNG player Li Zintei Zhao was streaming on rival platform Huya. Worse still, in January 2019, RNG had transferred the team's commercial rights, including player image rights and the club brand, to Tantian Company without Douyu's written consent, despite Douyu holding the exclusive rights to exploit these assets commercially. That is pretty bad. Imagine having a $31 million. Imagine the RNG signing a $31 million deal. Your streamer decided to go to a rival company, and turns out that RNG transferred everything to the other company, and no ring consent being formed. That's bad. That's really, really bad right now. That is absolutely, really, really bad. So, again, we dive in. And by the way, yeah, I know this shock, of course. The club also facilitates the retirements of Ming Sing and Yan Let Mi Zun, removing key personalities Douyu had banked on for content, while citing lower profile replacements. To top it off, RNG co-produced a show called Esports Youth Talk with another Dojo competitor. By October 2020, Wuhan Immediate People's Court ruled that Li Yu Company must pay Douyu nearly 30 million yuan in damages, plus 237,350 yuan in legal fees. A major financial blow, but far from the last. RNG would fully switch to yuan in September 2017 to 2019. Yeah, so laws of content creators, and all the kind of stuff. And when you lose big content creator pieces, as we've shown in the last couple of years, with big personalities and content creators being gone left, right, and center, and all this kind of stuff, you're losing a lot of value, man. You're losing a lot of value, of course, within the space. And loss of money and damages, 30 million yuan. That's huge. That is huge. And legal fees, of course, it's also damaging. So, yeah, that is a big blow to them. Again, we go forward. Meanwhile, Milix G, RNG's former star jungler, was fighting his own legal battle with the club. After retiring in 2019, he stayed under the RNG banner via a streaming contract with Hoya, but focused more on stock market speculation than streaming. The 2018 MSI champion failed to meet his contractual broadcast hours. I made in a single day what I'd earned in a month from streaming, he allegedly boasted on stream according to Chinese forums. Hoya responded by withholding payments from RNG, which in turn couldn't pay Milks. The jungler then sued RNG for 3 million yuan in unpaid wages, prompting RNG to countersue for breach of contract. The dispute became a very public family feud between the club and one of his most recognizable figures. Like, Jesus Christ, look at him. By the way, this is 2018. Like, oh, this is just so incredibly sad. Like, imagine one of your players from that team raised up as a hero, and now this whole situation happened in like streaming broadcasts and all the payments and everything like that for 3 million yuan in paid wages. Like, Jesus, that is just, how do you do this to him? How do you do this to this guy? You're better than this. Now, in June 2017, 2025, after years in court, the Jiangxi Zhongru Immediate Court People's Court ruled decisively in RNG's favor. Milix G must pay 25 million yuan or $3.48 million USD, including 6 million withheld by Huya, plus damages, interest, and legal fees. I do not accept this ruling and intend to appeal to the Chinese Supreme People's Court, Milix G announced after the verdict. Now financially strained after significant stock market losses, his case serves as a cautionary tale about the reckless financial habits of young players who rose stardom too quickly. I mentioned about Milky Way, of course, being 21 and all that kind of stuff with all the fame and everything else. Same thing with Shanks, young people being stars too quickly, and then, of course, no responsibility, no maturity, and all kind of stuff. They get to do whatever they want, consequences be damned. And when the consequences finally hit, it almost feels like a ton of bricks to them. So, yeah, he's feeling it. And by God, all of them are feeling it. But it's not just this guy. That's just the least most important player. We gotta talk about Uzi. We gotta talk about Uzis, ladies and gentlemen. Just give me a couple of minutes, and then we'll get to Uzi. Hello, welcome back. Let's talk about Uzi. The most high-profile case is undoubtedly that of Uzi, the living player, of course, one living player who was born April 5th, 1997. He was a cultural icon, of course, within the space. I mean, the accolades speak to itself. He was the first esports athlete to be signed with Nike. No esports athlete since Uzi has ever done this, especially with the esports that we are right now. Now, unfortunately, because of injuries and all kind of stuff, he had to force to retire. It is what it is, and all kind of stuff. On his stream, of course, on March 27th, however, he decided to broke his silence, accusing RNG of owing him a seven-figure sum and of forcing him into retirement without his consent. A fate he claims also befell onto higher earners of the club. He alleged restrictive non-competitive clauses and paid streamers revenue shares. They didn't pay me what they owed. Last year they said they paid slowly, but this year they say everything's settled. Where do they get that confidence from? The shameless is off the charts, he raged live on air. When a player of his stature says that, it's like all hell breaks loose, man. All flipping hell breaks loose. The mixed LG thing is kind of like a small little cracking of hell. This is like the entire hell just broken loose all at once. And man, oh man, RNG is in pretty much in trouble. Unlike the MSG, Uzi reportedly fulfilled all his contractual obligations. His third court hearing was scheduled for July 13, 2025, but no verdict has yet to be reported in Chinese media. And there he is in 2022. Poor kid. He deserved better. Now, to recover his money, Uzi has even floated the idea of converting debt into equity, turning what RNG owes him into ownership shares, which could give him both a revenue stream and influence over the club's future. That's fine. At the same time, Uzi has been evaluating his streaming career. In May 2025, he announced a break, citing KPI pressure from platforms and a waning passion for the game, though his legal fight with RNG may also be a factor. Potential platform for Uzi's comeback including Hoya, Douyin, Chinese TikTok, or Bilibili, with most analysts betting on Douyin, which has already had exclusive deals with the player and was rumored as a potential RNG buyer. Now inducted into the Hall of Legends just 1 year after Korean legend Faker, Uzi will receive a share of revenue from the sale of commemorative skin, as will RNG, despite their ongoing court battle. And Riot Games Global head esports Chris Greeley has confirmed that these proceeds are split between Riot, Uzi, and his former teams. Hey, listen, let's just give Riot one thing. At least it's gonna cover your payments, right? I'll give Riot one good thing about this. You can say all you want about the skins and all kind of stuff. At least it's gonna help Uzi and cover his payments. At least you got that going. So you gotta tip a hat to Riot to actually do that one. They didn't realize at the time, but you kind of help him out. I'm sorry, this is a little joke in the darkness, of course, but I'm just lighting up the mood just a little bit. Now, let's talk about, we of course talk about everything that's outside the game. Now, unfortunately, everything kind of bleeds into it. And yes, while, RNG fell apart and all kind of stuff, not making it through and all kind of stuff, everything that's going on right now with the legal lawsuits and the payments and the streaming services falling apart and the battles, it kind of bleeds into everything that's going on. And it shows. So, 2025 competitive have been disaster. Me and June, RNG and OMG have been finishing the LPL split, relegating them to LDL. Warriors RNG and his huge squad Royal Club withdrew from LDL, ended with a historic 0-20 record. The reason? Inability to cover basic operational costs from player salaries to venue fees. Many saw the withdrawal as a desperate cost-cutting move from a club now unable to sustain its multi-million yuan monthly burn rate. Like, goodness gracious. Like, by the way, OMG, the team that got relegated, of course, are playing in the LDL. And they're doing fine, of course, with their academy team. But cheese and rice. This is just brutally sadness. This is just absolutely brutal. Let's continue, by the way. Let's go even further deep. The impact on the ecosystem was immediate. LDL viewership dropped 23% and sponsoring renewal rates fell below 50% according to local news outlets. Even news even cared. RG's retreat triggered a domino effect with other organizations willing to follow suit, putting the LPL's talent pipeline at risk. So, yeah, this collapse is going to this situation right now is affecting RNG's reputation, the league reputations, the Chinese reputations, and right now you are seeing the domino effect. With LDL viewership being dropped, with revenues being dropped, sponsorships being lost, and then talent pipeline not doing well, and you're seeing LPL performances not doing great so far. I'm not saying that RNG situation is making LPL worse. But it does have a contributing factor of why LPL is not performing well at this current moment. Maybe I'll be wrong, but that's pretty much like the huge factor. Now, desperate times call for desperate measures as usual. At the center of the chaos is Yan Jin Chen, aka Baxing. There's a pretty derby joke. No. There's a pretty derby joke you can search. RG's owner through Shanghai Jingsing Changfeng Media Co. Limited, Limited, Blacklisted as a dishonest debtor since November 2023, he has been subjected to strict high expenditure restrictions. As early as August 2023, both he and his father had been ordered to repay 18.45 million yuan or 2.5 million USD private loans, signaling the start of a legal spiral that has now exploded in dozens of cases. CEO Lin Jimying tried to keep the club afloat with increasingly on ventures, NFT launches. Where did that work out? Digital avatars, renting trophy usage rights for photo shoots, selling fan shareholder packages, live streaming game promotions. Most were dismissed as fan exploitation and failed to address RG's core structural problems. You really think NFT launches in the year of 2025 will work? Have you seen what happened to crypto? Like, come on, man. Now, in April 2024, Lin admitted publicly that the club had a shortfall in tens of millions of yuan, with 80 to 9% of monthly expenses going to player salaries. He even floated a plan to mimic New Oriental, a private education giant that successfully pivoted into live streaming commerce, envisioning RNG as a gaming equivalent in just 6 months. His admission that creditors had confronted him in his own office become a vivid symbol of RNG's plight. Not good, dude. Not good. Now, there is hope there is light at the end of the tunnel. Amid the wreckage, takeover rumors have begun to swirl. In mid-June 2019, world champion Doinby claimed a buyer was in talks. The identity is so unexpected, no one would guessed it. Stronger than the Saudi prince. You know Doinby, great player and a master leaker in some sorts. The balls on this guy. He teased on stream. A nod to earlier rumors that Team Falcons, backed by Saudi investment, had offered $8 million for RNG's LPL slot in April 2025. I mean, let's be honest. A couple of months ago, they were close to being in the LEC, but got denied. Doinby firmly denied that lead, hinting instead at a buyer with close ties to Uzi. Former RNG jungler MLXG suggested that this could involve a corporation model aimed at building an all-star influencer streaming roster around RNG's brand. Chinese media have pointed to Douyin as a likely candidate, given its deep pockets and existing ties to Uzi and MLXG, potentially aiming for a nostalgic resurgence of the club's old guard. You know, kind of like Little Lost by the Tonets kind of thing. So, if it's gonna help your finances, I guess, that's pretty much it. As you can see, is Muantan sponsor a team composed of players age 55 on Honor of Kings. Like, what is this? Yo, that is just straight up 55-year-olds. 55-year-olds still balling in games. Like, all right, then. All right, I guess you do you. I guess 55-year-olds cooking. I'm probably gonna add my dad to play like League of Legends. I guess. Now, this funny story, by the way, is pointed to Mantoon, one of the mega apps that only China seems able to produce. The company specializes in virtually every kind of delivery imaginable and stands as a direct competitor to JD Gaming, the company behind JD Gaming, and Alibaba. Listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in 2018, the platform is now estimated to be worth $95.1 billion dollars and employs over 110,000 people worldwide. It is an extraordinary investor with deep pockets, exactly the kind of powerhouse that could rescue a historical name in League of Legends and Chinese esports. And Mutan, in fact, has already collaborated with Uzi in the past. The delivery giant has also worked with the LPL on several promotional campaigns, adding further weight to the idea that Mutan could be the perfect candidate to take over the Project with Riot Games ecosystem. On top of that, the company also supports the Kings Pro League, the Chinese Honor of Kings Championship, and the most watched esports competition in the country, even surpassing the LPL in viewership. A mobile game is more popular than the LPL. Let that sink in for a minute. Jesus. In 2023, Mutan even sponsored a team of senior players with a one-month training journey documented and released on Weibo, a move that further showcased the brand's deepening ties to the esports scene. All right, then. So, where did that all lead us? The RNG collapse exposes a deep structural flaws in Chinese professional esports. As one journalist of, I don't I don't know that. Wrote, esports isn't just about thrilling matches on stage. It's a complex capital game with corporate corporations and legal responsibilities. The endless contractual disputes also highlight the lack of legal protection for players who are often at a disadvantage because their organizations are poorly informed about their rights. Unlike structures like JDG, whose parent company e-commerce revenue provides stability, RG never built a sustainable business model beyond sponsorships. A fatal weakness once the drama scared partners away. Well, and you can find the sources here. So, yeah, a pretty deep and muddy situation that I hope for an organization like RNG, with its history, with its prestige, with all these other things, will solve and get over it. This is just a really sick situation. And you're right. I mean, while esports is giving you trophies and matches and incredible moments, it's a pretty complicated game of legal corporations, money, politics, and all kind of stuff, and the lack of stability and the lack of structure that's going on in esports. We talk about a little bit about Shanks and the suspension and the whole match fixing situation. So right now, China is in a really deep Twinkie fried dough with everything that's going on with esports, and they need to handle the situation before everything goes kaput. And you never know. In a couple of years, LPL could be in the same situation as the LCK or the LTA or the LCS, as we call it. It might be in the same situation. I'm not saying it's going to happen because China is a huge deal, of course, bigger than of course the North Americas, and they play more. But, and I say but, if these things continue, if all these things with the Milky Way, Shanks, and now the RNG situation happening, not even Worlds this year is going to help anybody's pockets at all. Speaking of Worlds, that should conclude Chasing China for today. I'm sorry that I ended in a downer note and a more newsworthy thing, but some of these things have to be addressed, and some of these things are important so that you, the viewer, can learn about everything that's going on so that esports is not all sunshine and rainbows. Trust me, it is complex, it is chaotic, especially in League of Legends and especially Riot, of course. These things need to be addressed. And if Richard Lewis and all this kind of stuff do not want to do it, and that's fine by him mentally, maybe I could do it. Or maybe you can do it as well. So find yourself, read these articles, read the article that I'm going to list them below, and we'll see you all next time and next week for more League of Legends content. Like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye.